Retro City Rampage. The best way to describe this game is to imagine that the team who made Grand Theft Auto back in 1997 released the game 10 years earlier for the NES. It's pretty much an open-world sandbox game made to look like it was from the late 80s. Everyone nowadays knows how popular open-world games are. Does the old-school vibe of Retro City Rampage play nice with modern game mechanics? Well, let's find out. You play as Player, a career criminal in Theftropolis looking for work. Player spots an advertisement looking for henchmen and winds up working with the villain, the Jester. After a crazy bank heist, Player finds himself one way or the other in front of the convenience store when a time-traveling phone booth drops in front of him. Player takes the phone booth for a ride, crashes it, and is quickly helped out randomly by an old scientist who can help fix the machine if Player helps him find the parts. Crazy, I know, but that's what I imagine the creator of the game wanted it to be. Retro City Rampage is playing for an age of video games long past that were light on story and heavy on gameplay. There doesn't seem to be a focus on plot here, but there are thousands of references to popular movies, TV shows, and video games of the 80s and 90s that are thrown at you relentlessly. Bottom line, if you're playing this game for the story, you're sort of missing the point. Look at these graphics. If you were a kid in the late 80s or early 90s, this visual style totally calls to you. Every little design rendered in 8-bit pixel perfection. It even has some of the graphical glitches common with old NES games of the era. Much of the design is heavily inspired by games like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Smash TV, Minecraft, Super Mario Bros., Skate or Die, Doki Doki Panic, Zelda, Mega Man, and the list goes on and on. You even have the ability to change the borders, graphics, and colors to emulate specific systems like the Virtual Boy, Amiga, and Atari. There's a lot of thought and detail put into the visuals of this game. The music and sound effects in this game are unquestionably NES inspired. It sounds just like it was being played off an old NES box, and the game is filled with parodies of sound and music effects from a whole bunch of classic games. But it also has a pretty wide selection of original music that was really well done and sounds very good for the period it's trying to represent. While it's something you wouldn't have actually heard in the game world. The light gun spring sound is something that a lot of us that grew up playing the NES remember from playing games like Duck Hunt and Hogan's Alley. All the audio in this game is top-notch. This is where it gets a little bit difficult. Retro City Rampage is not parroting the gameplay of all the games it's referencing, but it does take a few chapters out of the original Grand Theft Auto. You're pretty much looking at a top-down, free-roaming experience with mission elements scattered throughout the game world. There are points like in Nolan's Arcade in the city where you can play arcade-style minigames, and also during the story there are changes in gameplay and perspective for small segments. But because of the game's rapid pace and humor, it never feels like you're doing one task over and over again. Much of the controls are very tight, especially while playing the game with a good dual-stick controller like the Xbox 360's gamepad. However, if you're playing this on the PC with a keyboard, the game isn't as fun. Just trust me on this. You're going to want to play this game with some kind of controller attached to your PC. Really, my only harsh criticism of the game in general is its sudden and sporadic changes in difficulty. I can always understand having extra difficult parts of the game for unlockables, for the more dedicated of players. But when it's something that needs to be beaten in order to progress and finish the game, this can really piss you off. And trust me, when it gets hard, it gets really, really frustratingly stupid hard. I personally think this game is worth a play. It might not be for everyone, and its pace might put certain players off, but it's a fun experience you can't find in many other games.